Hello, my name is Lovelyn Bettison and I'm a writer. I wanted to tell you about a little book that I wrote called The Barista. It's a story about a woman named Lisa and her fiance has just broken it off with her. So she's completely heartbroken and she's trying to figure out a way to get back into life and is planning a big move across the country. But right before she's due to move, she meets a handsome young artist named Damon, and he puts a little bit of a wrench in her plans. The Barista is about learning to trust people again and about falling in love. And of course, there's a little bit of magic in it because I like to put a little bit of magic in all of my books. I want to read a chapter from you today, a chapter to you today. And so I was thinking, I'm looking at a book down here, that's what's happening. I would read chapter 5. Chapter 5. Every time the cafe door opened, Lisa looked up, hoping to see him. Even though seeing the painting on the restaurant wall freaked her out a bit, she was still flattered. When she'd gotten home that night, she'd sat in the middle of her bedroom floor, trying to decide what she wanted to pack for her move and thinking about Damon. She didn't know if she believed his story about seeing her in a dream or not. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust him, but trust was hard. She had trusted Richard, and look at what it got her. Damon was different, though. She could see that, even from the little bit of time she'd spent with him. He was relaxed and creative. When she was with him, she felt the kinetic pulse of life flowing through her. She'd forgotten that feeling. Since Richard had broken up with her, she hadn't felt much of anything. She wanted to feel more. She wanted to feel alive. It was nearly 10 o'clock when Damon finally wandered into the shop. Sleepy-eyed, he ordered an Americano and fumbled to pull his wallet from his pocket. "You look tired," Lisa said. "I was working most of the night. Just got a few hours sleep in before coming here." His eyelids were only half open and his words a bit sluggish, but when he smiled, his face lit up. She let out a nervous giggle as she put his order on the counter. She didn't want to admit that she was attracted to him. She couldn't be. She was leaving for Chicago soon. "What's so funny?" he asked. Lisa shook her head and started working on the almond milk lattes the couple behind him had ordered. "At least you're happy to see me. I was afraid that after the other day." Damon went over to the end of the counter and sat on the stool like he had the day before. When she was done making the lattes, Lisa drifted over to his end of the counter and talked. "I had dinner at the Liberty Bistro yesterday." "Really? What did you think?" he asked. She hesitated before answering. "It's a beautiful painting, but it was a bit weird for me." "I bet it was. Did anyone recognize you?" he asked. She thought for a moment about all of the people turning to look at her. Looking back on the night, she wasn't sure that's really what had happened at all. She might have just been too self-conscious because she was sitting right in front of the painting. The waiter did. Luckily, no one else seemed to. "So what if they did? Would that be unlucky?" Lisa shrugged. She wasn't sure what to say. "I guess not. I just like to lay low, you know." "It must be pretty hard for a beautiful woman like yourself to lay low." Lisa felt her face growing flush. She still had a hard time taking compliments, even though her mother always told her to smile and say thank you. Lisa's first instinct was always to deflect or deny it, but she took her mother's advice this time. If I were you, I'd hang out at the restaurant all day and hand out autographs, he said. This was getting more and more uncomfortable for Lisa. Nobody wants my autograph until they see the painting. Then they'll want your autograph. You're the artist. Maybe they should ask for both of our autographs. He took another sip of coffee. Once you're a famous poet, yours will be worth a ton of money. An uneasiness started to rise in Lisa's stomach. She liked this guy, but she felt like he expected more from her than she was capable of achieving. She tried to imagine what it would be like to be a famous poet. Deep down, it was what she really wanted. That would be good. I know it would. He smiled at her. When are you going to let me read some of your work? Lisa shook her head. She never showed her poetry to anyone, not even Richard. He'd found one of her poems once, and when he'd read it, he thought it was a little too funny. She had taken a few writing classes in college and done well. The written word had always been her first love, but she liked to keep her work hidden because the possibility of rejection seemed so devastating. I don't know about that. That's all right. I get it. You just met me. The thing is, I feel like I've known you forever. He looked down into his coffee cup thoughtfully before returning his gaze to hers. There's an open mic night at that gallery around the corner. Have you ever been? No. Poets read there all the time. You should go sometime. It's tomorrow night. We could maybe have dinner together and check it out afterwards. You could read one of your poems. Are you up for it? Just a suggestion made butterflies flutter in her stomach. No, I couldn't do that, she answered before he could even finish the question. He didn't seem to be swayed by her answer. You don't have to read. We could go listen. You mean like a date? Lisa asked. She had dated Richard for so long that she felt like she hadn't been on a date with anyone else in her entire life. That wasn't true, really, but her single life before Richard felt like it had belonged to someone else. Yeah, like a date. Lisa knew that she would have to start dating again eventually. She didn't plan on being alone forever. Okay. Her voice was timid. You sound unsure. I'm sure. It's a date, she said. At that moment, her heart decided to make itself known, beating so loudly that she thought everyone in the coffee shop could hear it. She stepped back over to the espresso machine and started working on an order that had just come in. Damon finished up the rest of his coffee quickly. I have to get back to work. See you tomorrow, she said. Tomorrow, he said. Lisa watched him walk through the door out onto the sidewalk. She continued to watch as he walked by the front window, crossed the street, and disappeared around the corner. She would actually be going on a date tomorrow with a man who made her heart flutter and her skin tingle. She let out a slow breath and started making another latte. So I hope you enjoyed hearing me read that. And if you're interested in purchasing the Barista, it's for sale on all the online retailers, or I have my own very own store. I have my own store on my website. You can actually purchase it directly from me. If you buy a paperback directly from me, it'll come signed. So you could do that also. I'm going to leave a link to my store below this video so you can check it out. Thanks for listening to me read a chapter from the Barista, and I hope you decide to buy it. Bye.